Hey everyone, Paul here. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if this is your first video. And in this video, I want to walk through my relationship with budgeting, kind of just what that feels like, what the process is, things like that. But, when I think about it, that when I graduated college, I was really irresponsible with budgeting and saving money and all of those things. Now, I feel pretty fortunate because I wasn't racking up a lot of, consumer debt and things like that, but I was pretty much living week to week. So I know what it feels like to, for an extended period of time, spend my entire paycheck. I know what it feels like to live more in the middle. And more recently, I've been getting more frugal. And so now, my net worth is the highest that it's ever been. And that being said, it's like I'm more frugal than I've ever been. So again, I want to kind of walk through that. But first of all, really the motivation for wanting to film this video is that, when I think about my happiness level when I was spending my entire paycheck versus my happiness level from trying to save as much as my paycheck as I can, I'm much happier on a budget trying to save as much as I can versus when I was blowing it and spending it and not thinking about it, all of those things. And that feels kind of like the opposite. You would think that, okay, maybe saving money or being really frugal, maybe you're thinking about the reward in the future, but you're going to sacrifice your happiness today. Like that would have been my gut feeling about like what would have happened from going through the process. But again, that didn't happen. And why didn't that happen, and why am I talking about it in these terms? Well, for me, for whatever reason, if I'm giving myself, and what I'm currently doing is I'm actually experimenting using a cash budget instead of using credit cards, debit cards, things like that. So by using a cash budget, every week I give myself $200 worth of cash that I'm able to spend on anything in my life that I want to spend on. So if that's going to be balancing going out to eat with, groceries, with haircuts or concerts, if the world ever opens back up, of course, it's just basically saying, here's $200 a week and I can spend that on whatever I want. But what I do with that is that there's this satisfaction, and I've been doing this for about 3 weeks now, but there's a satisfaction of if I get to the end of the week and I've only spent $80 or I've only spent $100 and I've got that left over, then I'm able to physically see the cash. It feels like I'm winning, or it's just this feeling, that you don't necessarily get if, again, you're just spending all your money or using a debit card, you're not tracking or spending any of that. I never got that sense that I was I guess being successful at anything, right? In fact, if anything, when I was spending my whole paycheck, I kind of had this gnawing anxiety to know that, hey, I'm probably not on the right path. I should probably get this under control. But I'd be like, well, I'll do it later. And it kind of just was in the pit of my stomach that, even if it was kind of distant at times, this realization that, hey, you need to get this under control. So that didn't feel great. And it's almost, by the way, almost a little bit how I would say the difference between studying for a test, in school versus not. There's times I've done both of those. When I've studied for the test, I can go in and I feel confident about the test. I'm not sweating it. I'm not anxious. I'm like, hey, I know this material. I put in the time, I feel good. Whereas if I spent the time, let's say blowing off studying or whatever the case might have been, I'm going into that test feeling anxious, or I'm thinking, hey, maybe feeling like an idiot that I didn't put in the time to be successful for that. So again, I feel like for me, it's just a very similar feeling about saving money, that it just feels good to be more prepared and to be doing the right thing, or at least as I'm defining it for the goals that I've set for myself. So again, that certainly wasn't an intuitive thing. Whereas I know that, again, some people think about saving money as, hey, it's responsible, you have to do it, it's not fun. But my whole argument is, I think that it actually is fun, to be actually, doing it as I've been describing it here. But the other thing that when we kind of look at this is that my relationship with money, it's interesting because, when it comes to spending money, as I mentioned, if anything, as I've actually got a higher net worth, I've become more frugal. And I think part of that is just because I can also see myself getting closer to the goals. It's once you get past and you save your first 5,000, you're like, hey, that 10,000 is pretty close. And then you get to 20,000 and, you're thinking, hey, 25,000 is right around the corner, and then 35,000, so it's I think that when you kind of get that momentum going, I think that it inspires you to want to hit that next goal even faster. And then of course, again, it's exciting to hit those goals, so you kind of get that dopamine rush, I think, from being able to check off some of those milestones when you're approaching some of these things. But on the relationship on the other side, I think this is also interesting to reflect back on, because when I was first starting to invest, back when I would have, five, 10,000, whatever else in my investing account, if there were days where I was up $100 or $200, I felt on top of the world that I would be able to make that much, and again, understanding that, yes, it's not realized gains. It's like, the market ebbs and flows, but just to be able to look at my account and say that that was up by a couple $100, that was a huge, huge amount to me. Whereas now that my portfolio value is over 50,000, I can look at it and it's like, there's days where it might be up by a couple percent and it's up by, $1,000 kind of a thing. And it's like, I kind of get now the same excitement from the $1,000 as I did from the couple $100. And kind of conversely, if I looked at my portfolio now that it's up over 50,000 and saw that it was only up by 100 or two, it's like, I'd be like, oh, it's kind of flat for the day. Like, I wouldn't really register in the same way that it did previously. But what's also exciting about that then is to kind of project that out and say that, hey, there could be a time where, like, my ultimate goal, if I actually get a portfolio worth millions of dollars, my ultimate plan is to be able to eventually put myself in a position where my account can be up $50,000, in a day, and have it only represent a couple percent increase, and basically be like, oh, it's only up $50,000 today, right? Like, it wasn't really that good of a day. Like, being able to say that, I feel like is really, really motivating to me. I think that would be amazing to literally just say, hey, I just made what was at one time in my life a good annual salary. I just made that in a day of just passive investing, and guess what? The market was relatively flat. Not a big deal. And conversely, I think it'd also be exciting on the loss side of things. I think it'd be really exciting to say, hey, oh, my investment account lost $50,000 today, but guess what? That's 2% of my account value, right? Like, if I've got a $2.5 million account, I'm not going to be sweating a $50,000 decline. Just like if you had, a $100 account and, your stocks go down by $2, 2%, like, you're not going to, I think, you're probably not going to sweat that loss. So that's the goal, that's the framework. But I just wanted to kind of walk through, because again, I've been through, multiple phases. I've been through, financial irresponsibility. I'm kind of more recently doing the right thing. I wanted to walk you through, like, what my experience has been with those things. And again, the fact that it really struck me that saving money, if anything, was actually leading to me to, I think, have a higher standard of living, or like more happiness than I was just blowing it all. But what's your relationship with budgeting? Is this something that you're dreading? Are you trying to put together a budget, but you're putting it off? Are you on a budget and finding that you're not maybe as thrilled about it as what I am? I'd love to know your opinions, so let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you next video.